Hello, this is a thought for your day. And this thought comes from Sabbath. It's by Wayne Muller. I think we've dealt with this or had another thought for the day from this book. But this one is called Being Sabbath. Okay. When Tim Murphy, 2 years older than I in high school, went away on retreat with his youth group, he read a book. It was titled A Separate Peace, Peace, which awakened and devastated the tender inner architecture of his adolescent heart. He came home and straight to my house, where he sat in my room and wept in my arms. I remember thinking even then, this is not about me. Others have also been Sabbath for me. When I was 18, I was already a sophomore in college, having skipped a grade in elementary school. Over the years, I had at times used my intellect to mask my feelings. After completing my freshman year with a 4.0 average, I thought I would transfer from the University of Rochester to Harvard for more stimulation, more prestige, and intellectual opportunity. I went to see the school counseling service to get permission to transfer and to negotiate about the particulars. The counselor was a very wise man. He saw instantly that behind all that mental bravado, there was tenderness and pain, and that my heart was deeply confused. He listened patiently to my plans and my strategies, and when I finished, he said nothing about my ambitions and my schemes. After a period of silence, he simply said, "You seem sad." I was completely taken by surprise. I felt frightened and dizzy, and suddenly I began to weep, deep, wrecking sobs. I wept for the better part of an hour. I wept for all the loneliness in my life, for the pains of my childhood, for unnameable wounds and achings in my soul. He guided me to the carpet and let me lie on the floor, where he held my hand as I wept. His kind, quiet presence changed my life. A single moment, a touch, a Sabbath moment, undivided attention was all that was required. I became a student of this man, and through his suggestion, I volunteered as a phone counselor at the suicide hotline. Once, a woman called to describe her despair and how she was going to end her life. She would call and ask for me, and every week we talked for hours. I wanted to be an English teacher, but here I was at midnight, a vessel for the sorrow of an invisible woman. Later, she would come to visit me, strictly prohibited by all the rules, but still she had to come to say in person that I had saved her life. I never did or said anything particularly wise or dramatic, but somehow our conversations had become Sabbaths for her. Years later, I am a family therapist in the inner city working with poor and neglected children. I go up the stairs of a government housing project, one of the first built many hopeful years ago, now old, many of the windows broken out, cool in the dark quarters and gray winter light. Inside, she sits at the kitchen table. So many meetings at so many kitchen tables. This is where truths are shared, hearts unburdened, where the food is, She speaks of her deep love and concern. Her 10-year-old son is under the care of the white judge and the white probation officer. And now I, the white counselor, have come to rescue this boy from who knows what destiny. We sit without words. I could sit quietly in her kitchen all day by that stove. I am fed by the warmth, the empty quiet, the Sabbath moment. I wish I were her son, so deeply does she care for him. I am nourished by the Sabbath of our silence in her kitchen. What is the right thing? Neither of us has words that would give birth to anything we would call a happy ending. The whole myth of organized helpfulness seems like a barren setup, a foiled relationship, even when we all try so hard and mean so well. There are larger forces at work, and it dawns on me why prayer is the only reasonable practice. Poor people always ask me to pray with them. And you know, it feels like the one time that something real happens, because it's not about our skill or our will, but rather about our humility and helplessness laid bare. Today, 25 years later, they still call me. A lover is murdered. A child dies in her sleep. I sit quietly and say, yes, yes. Quietly again, oh yes. No struggle, no promised land, no happy ending, no good reason. Only the faint, inevitable sound of forms crumbling, creation returning to quiet, a surrender to emptiness, and hands holding hands. This is not about me, and it's not about them. It is life making itself known in the quiet tearing of flesh, the silent Sabbath of things yet unknown, taking birth. Others share with me how they are Sabbath for one another. Margaret is a patient coordinator at a large urban hospice center. After years of running from patients to meetings and writing reports and calling volunteers, I have finally learned that my real job when dealing with dying patients is to be calm, the eye of the storm, she says. When she can feel the time for paperwork, prescriptions, treatment plans, and casework has ended, Margaret allows herself to sit with those in her company and gradually become still, like deep water. In these moments, Margaret becomes the Sabbath for her patients. Into her emptiness, they pour their souls. The sick and the dying plant their fear and sadness in the ground of her quiet, where together, in time that cannot be measured by any clock, they enter into Sabbath time. And in that time, there grows a peace that passes understanding. At our best, we become Sabbath for one another. We are the emptiness, the day of rest. We become space that our loved ones, the lost and the sorrowful, may find rest in us. So as you go through your day, think about the times people have been Sabbath for you. Just let you talk, just listened, just held your hand or gave you a hug, or just held you. How many times have you been Sabbath for others? Make that part of your life. We need each other. Have a wonderful day.